Hello, fellow rollers, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 8 of Holy Rollerz, the D&D show about the Hallowed Council, leaders of an interfaith alliance dedicated to protecting the world of Ienia from fallen angels, felonious fae, and faithless French fishermen, should they ever become a problem. We're ready to take them on. So, in honor of Halloween, we are giving away 20 copies of Wonders of the Witch for 5th edition D&D or World of the Witch for 4th edition D&D during the week of Halloween. Over 100 pages of the new witch class with 4 unique builds, new spells, new hags, new magic items, and 6 sample covens. All you have to do to enter is follow us on Twitter at Sage of Sorcery 1 is the account that we use. Watch any episode of Holy Rollerz, and then comment on our website under the Halloween giveaway forum post and tell us which episode you watched and what your favorite moment was during that episode. So that's all you got to do. And we will send you a free copy of that book. It is chock full of juicy goodness. And so that is what we will do. We are excited to be with you again after a brief hiatus last week, owing to some people feeling that high fevers of children seems to be more important than D&D, which I must say is debatable. But we won't debate that here. We will just let that affect the dice rolls. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into our introductions, starting with JT.
Hey everybody, I am JT. I play Anduriel, the vampire cleric of Naylock, and Naylock is the god of night and vengeance.
Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. I play Lachlan Dulay, the paladin bard of Sindel, goddess of love and truth.
I'm Jeff. I play Gizik, and I serve am forced to serve Sigrund, the goddess of hags and witchcraft and runes, puppy dog tails. Yeah.
There's a rune for everything these days.
Random other body parts. Hey guys, I'm Ben. I play Morokhan. I'm the cleric monk of Hamina, the goddess of light and traveling and expeditions and the sun and
and good stuff and warm fuzzies.
Traveling light.
Unless, of course, you're a vampire, in which case, maybe less so. And now for a brief recap. So last time on Holy Rollerz, the party faced the aftermath of their battle at the Wandering Dragon Inn, starting with the owner of the inn. It was kind of a bit of a mess. And then what ended up happening was they made their way to the city of Horta. And when they did so, they were very shortly accosted by 2 clerics. 2 clerics of the goddess Vestera and 1 cleric of the newly appointed demi-power, the High One, which is a demi-power that the Divine Fellowship has encountered before, being a pseudonym for the Archdevil Navariel.
Ooh.
They invited the Divine Fellowship members to come back to the chapel and sign up for the Living for the Day program, which would involve who knows what, because we patently refused. And unfortunately, that refusal was not taken very well by those 2 clerics of Vestera, who grew angry and then somehow magically incited by the priest of the devil priest of Navariel. They began to engage in combat, which was very well manipulated by Lachlan, who used his power to cause them to attack each other, thus making it appear to all the onlookers that the clerics were fighting amongst themselves, in addition to attacking the members of the Divine Fellowship. And so that was quite the mess that we got into. And now we will be jumping right back into that combat, which is kind of an ugly scenario. So we will jump back into that combat, which is a joyful thing. Before we do that, let's do a little establishment of where we are. Let's go over hit points. JT, how many hit points do you down to?
I have not been hitted.
All right, so Anduriel needs to take damage. Just FYI, everyone else.
He doesn't need to, but
Well, all right, Lachlan, what are you down to? How many hit points are you down to?
37.
37. Gizik, what are you down to?
32.
32. And Morokhan, what are you down to?
I recall receiving some healing last round. I used my Amulet of Life. I'm actually back up.
You're actually looking for a number, Benjamin.
I'm at full hit points.
You're at, oh well, that's lovely. We'll see what we can do about that. Okay.
I wasn't when it ended.
Yes. So,
But-
unfortunately, you got clubbed upside the head pretty fierce. Now, does anybody have any ongoing effects on? I believe Morokhan has used his Fighting's Fury stance, so he's doing extra damage, right?
Yep.
Yes. Anybody else have any effects on that we need to keep track of?
I don't think so.
No.
Eric's is prone save ends, but I can't remember why.
I have all three of them as prone.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably my fault.
Oh yeah, Gizik used his crowd control.
Yes. Now, I will also tell you that around Port Gizik, the two clerics of Bestera channeled divinity, or rather, actually, I don't think that's their channel divinity power. I will look real quickly. No, they both cast the spiritual weapon spell. So there are two enormous shields of Bestera that are floating around Gizik and slamming into him like clubs. So he is being beset on all sides in that way. They both cast that. It was a bit of an ugly situation. Now, somebody had Awakened Pride cast on them. I believe that was you, Lachlan. Was it not, or am I incorrect? So you will be spending your standard action insulting, or had you already done that? Remind me, I'm old. I forget these things.
I think he insulted us already.
I believe he did already, actually.
Maybe he was just
And I
naturally
apologize.
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you did apologize, and really that's what matters, right?
And Eric's is about to express his love and guilt to me.
That's right.
That's right.
Which is really a bad place for him to be in. But if I'm looking at him, he is prone before you, Lachlan, and so he will do that. So, Brother Eric's, it's ironically, it's his turn. And he falls to his knees in front of you with Morokhan on one side of him and Duriel behind him, falls down to his knees in front of you, Lachlan, on this field of battle. And he says, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You're so beautiful. I don't even mind the mole. I mean, it just adds character to your face. And he looks at you and he says, I don't know what I was thinking. Can you ever forgive me? I mean, really, surely we can build something from here. I mean, this isn't the end for us, is it? And continues on apologizing for having attacked you and apologizing for the pride in his heart and seeking ways to make amends. It's really quite the pathetic display. And small mention of your mole. But anyway, that is what he does for his standard action. And then that standard action ends. And he is standing there and snaps out of it. And he looks at you with such hate in his heart that you begin to wonder how he might possibly change that. So his first thing to do is he will stand up from his prone position. And he
can't, because he's under Gizik's spell of prone save ends.
He wants to stand up very much.
He's trying so hard.
And so he tries and realizes that he can't, which effectively wastes that action. And let's see, what will he do? I believe that he had already channeled divinity to make two enemies within 3 squares of each other mistrust each other and take a -4 to all attacks until the end of his next turn, which I believe was Morokhan and Anduriel that he used that on, which was not a huge stretch. If you remember me describing last time that he made you distrust one another, and it was very distracting. So that has already been used, and it's now over at the end of his turn. He has a minor action, and there's really nothing he can do about that. So he looks up to you, Lachlan, and you spoke into his mind, but he's not really sure that connection is still going. So for his turn, he is just going to look up at you, and he snarls at you and says, I'll see you burn in the 9 hells. And that's all he can really do because he's stuck. Now, he will save against Gizik's spell, which he will not successfully save again. So he is stuck in a kneeling position in front of you. Lachlan, it's your turn, my friend. It's Lachlan's turn.
This is just wonderful.
Well,
what a good day.
It really is. He's got quite a few hit points, but he is kneeling in front of you.
I just think I'm gonna gut him. So we'll use a nice virtuous strike And that's a 26.
A 26, that pretty much hits everyone at this level.
Barely.
So, and I rolled an 8. So that's 14 radiant damage. So
Okay.
I just looked down at him. There's not even any grace. I'm just a cheesy grin plastered on my face as this guy can't seem to stand up. Just a downward thrust, trying to go for him right in the gut.
Okay. All right. So Gizik, you hit him with waves of ecstasy, right?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. So he can't get up. He can't get up because he's suffering waves of ecstasy. So he snarls that you're going to burn in the 9 hells. You stab him and he goes, oh, ooh. Like, and you're a little uncomfortable with how much he seems to enjoy the fact that you stabbed him. Do you have a minor and a move? Anything else you want to do?
Yeah, I think I do. I will use revitalizing incantation on myself to get some hit points.
Okay.
That will give me a surge plus a surge value of temporary hit points. So effectively getting me 28 hit points.
All right. Sounds like a good deal to me. Okay. That would be Lachlan's turn. Morocon, you're up.
All right. Well,
The feeling of mistrust for Anduriel fades.
oh, it has.
To be
Unless, of
replaced by the
course-
normal feeling of mistrust.
Yes.
Unless, of course, you actively choose to maintain it.
Well, there's always something there. So.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm going to reach up to the sky, grab myself some sun, and I'm going to just falcon punch this guy
Okay.
right in the
Jeez.
chops.
right.
So avenging flame.
You are flanking with no one, unfortunately. Okay.
Right.
His AC is 21, my friend.
Right.
Does it target AC?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Twitch. AC is 21.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that hits. It's a 22. So
That'll do.
So that's going to be a lot. Math is hard, guys.
That's okay.
So that's Fighting Fury. I can count towards cleric attacks. Yes.
I don't think so. I think that only counts for monk attacks. Unfortunately.
Okay. So then that is a 15, and he gets +5 fire ongoing damage.
Ooh.
Ooh,
He does not like that.
it's on fire.
And after that, I'm going to use an action point, and I'm going to hit him again
Oh, okay.
because I need that hissing to stop.
All right. Well, and
It is.
that's probably bothering you.
It is ringing in my ears, and I just cannot stand it. So I am going to do Sacred Shielding this time. So after calling forth the sun and just falcon punching this guy in the chops, I'm going to follow it up with a glowing left hook with Sacred Shielding, which is you said 21 is his AC, yes?
That is correct.
Oh, cool. Okay, 24. Which now that is ooh, that's nice. So that is a 17 plus Anduriel and Lachlan both get +2 to all defenses until the end of
Okay.
my next turn.
Oh, that's very nice. All righty. He is looking quite beat up as that little gray tower on his white robe is splattered with blood as Morocon just breaks into his face. And you hear his fist crack into the guy's chest, and poor little elven devil cultist is you hear a crack of bone as he does that, and he's wobbling. He doesn't look like he can take too much more of this. But that would be
the
him.
goal.
All right, Anduriel, it is your turn, my friend.
All right.
Lachlan stabs him. Anduriel's beating him, or Morokhan's punching him. Why not just,
Well, we've seen that symbol before, and it represents so much of what we're fighting against that I feel like using Divine Juggernaut.
Oh, well, why not?
I mean, come on.
All right, with your kukri or with the Leviathan's tooth?
With the kukri.
Okay.
With the
Thank you. I don't want to get shoved away.
All right, with the Leviathans. No, just with the kukri.
Oh, we're feisty tonight, aren't we?
All right, it targets his armor class. That is a 3. However, it's my first attack on this gentleman, so I'm going to use my ring.
Is it your first attack on him?
Yeah, I was sitting outside the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, Lachlan
I didn't want to
insulted
engage
him
because
into engaging.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, that's a 18 plus 27. Weapon attack, yep.
Yeah, that'll hit. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go 2 weapon damage, which is this, plus bonus, 7, 14. Okay, so it's 14 damage.
Okay.
The effect is that until the end of the encounter, when I use Healing Word or I channel Divinity, he's going to take my Charisma modifier, and allies adjacent to me get committed Charisma modifier temporary hit points. So what happens is, as Anduriel sees kind of what's going on, he recognizes that symbol. He's like, I hate these guys. And so you start to see that sort of light shimmer. It's kind of that silvery shimmer start to come over him. And you start to see a little bit of a glow, not a shine, not a
sparkle,
a glow, kind of a silver glow come around him. And as he pulls out his kukri, you can see that come to his eyes as well. And he just charges forward, and it's just a straight charge. And he puts the blade right up underneath the ribs as close as he can to the person's heart. And he's just looking at him in his eyes the whole time.
And he's panicking because he can't get up. So as you come closer, he's like, and
he's looking down at him. So anyways, that's the Divine Juggernaut.
I love that we have to specify that you're not sparkling every time.
But you know what? It's an important distinction.
It's an important distinction.
He's not sparkling, he's hollow.
You do realize, of course, as your dungeon master, that it means I have to find a way to make you sparkle at least once in the campaign.
Well, one does.
You get hit with a glitter attack. You're sparkling for days. It's like your kid's glitter. You can't get out of your clothes ever. It's going to be terrible.
Okay. I'm going to shift now to 16.
Okay.
16. And I'm going to start to kind of look over, because this guy, we're all 3 over there, and Duriel's going to kind of look over to Gizik to see how things are going with the other 2 Yahoos.
Okay. You are still flanking with Lachlan in that position, of course.
Yep. That's why I'm just shifting. I'm not going to move around, just shift it.
All right, very good. So Anduriel, you stab him, you flare with light, and now it is Gizik's turn.
So he's still standing?
Yes, he's still standing, but you got problems of your own, Gizik. You have 2 clerics. Now they're on the floor moaning in ecstasy. But nevertheless, they are there, and you are being pounded on by these 2 shields.
And I'm up in J12, right?
You are. That is correct, sir.
Yep.
You are in J12.
I'm going to attack with an Earthstorm then. I think that should hit both of those clerics. It's a burst 2.
That will hit. That will hit both of those clerics. Yes.
Well, I can try to hit them.
Okay, what is the target?
Target is each creature in burst 2.
What defense does it target?
Oh yeah, it's wisdom versus fortitude, so I will roll.
Okay, they're Their fortitude is 17.
15?
17, my friend.
17. All right. 26 against the first one.
Okay. That's a hit.
And 24 against the second.
That is also a hit.
Yes.
All right, then this
Mark
will
it down.
be-
Gizik hit with 2 attacks. In the
I know.
Yes, it
And
did happen.
I don't even get a bonus attack for that.
Dear diary.
Would you
today,
like
Gizik,
to try to bewitch someone before you do that?
No, I'll do it after.
Okay.
So that will be 13 damage, and they're both prone.
Still.
They're still
Again.
prone.
They're
Yes.
proner. More
right.
prone.
So what does that what
They're
does
below
that
ground.
earth storm look like?
I just the Earth's kind of big chunks of rock and dirt just fly up off the ground, fly around them, slam into them a few times, and then the dust all just settles down. And
Okay.
when it passes, they're just laying there bleeding in the dust.
Okay, those poor gentlemen laying there bleeding in the dust, moaning in ecstasy.
It's been a weird
It's an
day.
unfortunate. Yeah, it's been a very strange day,
All right.
and I'm not sure which one of those is more disturbing to the onlookers.
And I'm going to try to bewitch Eric, I think.
Okay.
All right, so I think it's an 11 versus Will.
That will not bewitch him, unfortunately. His will is 20. He's quite willful.
Jeez.
Okay, then. I think that's it.
Okay.
I'll just sit here
Alrighty.
surrounded by half-conscious, bleeding people on the ground.
Alrighty. So the first thing that is going to happen is those spiritual weapons are going to take their attacks on you. What is your AC, Gizik?
19.
All right, so they need 9s. Oh,
No, don't. Nope. Somebody turn his camera off. Turn it off.
that's a miss and a hit.
Oh, a big hit.
Oh,
Oh.
okay. All right, it's just a 4. You're good. You're safe. You're safe, my friend. You're safe. It's just 4.
All right.
But it's still a critical hit, unfortunately. So you take 18 points of damage from one shield.
Ouch.
So you definitely duck under one of those shields, and then you're ducking, and you're like, "Oh, I got away!" And the other one goes, oh, slams right into the side of your face, and just clocks you. Which is just a bad scenario. And now what are they going to do? They are stuck on the floor, which kind of limits their options.
No, it's nice that everybody's ganging up on Eric and just leaving me to handle everything else.
I took a step
You've
away.
got these. You've got these two. I don't know what you're worried about. Okay.
Eric's was hurting my ears.
He has a symbol on. I hate the symbol.
Okay. They are going to both use their last healing word. They're not going to use it on themselves. They're going to use it on Brother Eric's because he is in such a bad way. And so he is going to get back a not inconsiderable amount of hit points.
Well, poop.
I was hoping he would just die for the day.
They should have action pointed that scenario. Oh well.
So Brother Eric's comes back to a startling number of hit points. As they both look up at you, they're like, oh, they get slammed with these rocks, but they look back and they see Anduriel just cut up into Eric's, who's on the floor. And Brother Fayette screams, he points to him and he says, Brother Eric's, and they both grab their holy symbol and go, Bestera, let your healing energy flow. And a white light just flies out of them and fills Brother Eric's, and you visibly see the wounds that you guys have caused to him just seal over, and he gets all kinds of new vigor. However, they are now out of healing. So take comfort in that if you may. So that's their minor action. They cannot stand up. I'm going to make their saves now to see if that's possible. No and yes. So Brother Gerard, the younger of the two clerics, manages to stand up. So he will not be prone. But what does he want to try to do? He is going to channel divinity. That's what he's going to try to do. And Duriel, what is your will?
It is 24 at the moment.
All right, you take a step closer to Brother Gerard, and he is going to use the classic D&D ability Turn Undead against you. What would your will be? Oh, that's not going to work. So he got himself a nice 12, which is not going to beat your will, unfortunately.
Yeah.
However, would a 16 beat your will?
No.
No, I would not either. Okay. So then he will not use his human cheating power, as Jeff likes to call it. He will not use extra effort. So he lifts up his holy symbol and he points to you and he holds up the holy symbol from the ground and he says, Bestera, take you in holy fire. And his holy symbol flares brightly and this light just comes at you, but it just seems to just fizzle all around you, like it can't penetrate you.
All right.
So that is his standard action and his minor. Brother Fayette is going to do something else. He holds up his holy symbol, Anduriel, and uses his standard action to hold you at bay as a vampire. So you are held at bay by the power of his faith and cannot approach his holy symbol, unfortunately. So he just holds it up like this, and he says, in the name of Bestera, I command you, do not approach. And you're kind of moving forward, and you feel like, wham, this just wall comes right in front of you, and you cannot move closer to Brother Fayette.
Okay.
Now, Brother Gerard, unfortunately, that's another matter. But okay, and that would be their turn. Back up to the top with poor Brother Eric's. He is feeling quite invigorated.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for him.
Oh. We seem to have lost the internet again.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Can't see you.
I thought we lost our DM.
Yep.
I can hear all of you. I can see none of you.
Oh man, it's like a out of body experience or something. Like
it's like you're here, but you're not.
Hear him. But
Instead of your voice, instead of your face, I just see a big logo.
Well, that's attractive and nevertheless not as productive.
Oh, half a logo.
Huh, I am not sure why that.
20.
Okay. Well, I don't know how to handle that other than to restart the meeting. I'm not sure how to do that.
There we are.
And we're coming back into focus.
We're back on the Twitch stream too. Everyone's screens are jumbled up, but everyone's
That's
back.
okay. Jeffrey's got this. Okay. All right. Are we back on the Twitch stream live here?
Yeah, we're still live.
Okay. Well, that was exciting. Sorry about that brief. I mean, that's an ominous sign, going on right there. We go right back up to the devil priest's turn, and all of a sudden, all the tech goes haywire. It's very Exorcist. I don't know. What do you want to call it? It's very I don't know, horror movie-esque. So be afraid. Be very afraid. All right. It is his turn, and he can't get up because he's still just suffering these waves of agony. He kind of wants Lachlan to stab him again, but that's not going to stop him. from trying to get you all, he is going to use Fires of Damnation, which is a close burst 3 attack, which I believe is going to get all 3 of you and also hit Brother Gerard and Fayette. So, and he doesn't want to do that. Boy, that's putting him.
He'll catch
in
a lot of
sticky-
folks with that bad boy.
Yeah. Question is, does he want to go for it?
Yes.
That's some bad mojo if he
Yeah.
does that.
If he's going to
Well,
hit the other two as well, maybe he should.
He's suffering with a public opinion problem right now, so I don't think he wants to do it. He is, however, going to crawl away. He's going to crawl across the floor into square 18K, and that is going to provoke an attack of opportunity from all 3 of you. So, why don't we go ahead and start? Lachlan, take your attack.
That's an 18 on the die, so he'll take 7 radiant damage.
Okay.
And I think since it's a free action when I hit with an at-will weapon attack, I'm going to use Mocking Smite. And he just goes, crawl, crawl, crawl away, worm. And he's going to take an additional 7 points of psychic and radiant, and I turn invisible.
They're hurtful words.
Nice. I bet he
All right,
feels bad now.
Anduriel.
All right. That is a 2 on the dice. Swing and a miss.
Okay, and Morocon.
Just a melee basic, yeah?
Yep, just a melee basic attack.
Okay. So that's a 17?
That is not going to hit his AC, I believe. No, his AC is 21. He is he's got quite high defenses. Okay, so 2 swings. So this is actually going to work out for him. Now he is going to use Force of Damnation because now he'll not hit his compatriots. So he crawls into square 18K. He is still prone on the ground, and he uses Fires of Damnation, which is going to hurt. What is your reflex, Lachlan?
19. Oh, wait. But someone gave me a +2 to defenses, so it's actually 21.
Morocon, yeah.
Okay. All right, so that is a 22 versus your will.
Will or
that
reflex?
is a reflex. Does that hit your reflex?
22?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Anduriel, what is your reflex?
21.
That's a 22 versus your reflex. And Moralcon, what is your reflex?
Well, until the end of my turn, it's 20.
Okay, and that is a 25, unfortunately. So he got all of you with Fires of Damnation, even with his -2, which is bad. So you will take 9 plus, you take 21 points of fire damage and ongoing fire damage 5, and you are all knocked prone.
Well, geez.
Am I the only person in this whole street still on his feet?
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
Brother
now who's
Gerard.
complaining over there.
Brother Gerard managed to stand up. Brother Gerard actually did manage to stand up. So, hooray for Brother Gerard. Okay, now Morocon, you set him on fire, so he also takes 5 points of fire damage.
He does. I'm also resistant to 5 of that fire.
Well, that'll be nice. If it weren't 21, it would probably be a little bit better. All right, let's see how he does. So he grabs that little amulet with the gray tower on it, and he shouts out, "Navariel, burn them in the fires of the hells that they'll no doubt wind up in." And he explodes with a nasty looking orange flame, and you can hear the wailing of the damned come from the hellfire as it pours out over you. And it's pretty awful. And so all of you are on fire, and he manages to crawl away, and he is going to now save, and he is still on fire, Morocon, unfortunately for him. Boo-hoo-hoo. but he does manage to stand up. So he will do that on his turn next round. And that is him.
As an immediate reaction, Anduriel, while on fire, is going to choke out. Naylock, bring to life the shadow of my vengeance.
Okay.
And my shadow is going to come off of me and hurry over to brother Butthead.
Okay.
And, try to strangle him.
Poor brother Eric. All right, you shout out your prayer to Naylock, and from the side, from the screaming onlooker, an older gentleman leans back on a younger gentleman next to him, presumably his son, and he says, "He's a worshiper of the god of death. He worships Naylock." And there's there's people like as if they weren't freaking out even further.
So with that channel divinity, he takes 3 hit points of damage.
Alrighty.
And will, if ally is adjacent to me, channel divinity as well.
Okay, well, Lachlan's already done that. Morocon, however, has not.
Give me a sec.
Okay. All right, so he will manage to stand up. That's brother Eric's turn. And he is now taking ongoing damage 5, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Ongoing necrotic 5, and then
Okay.
And fire 5.
So he's taking ongoing necrotic as Anduriel's shadow starts choking him, and he's on fire. And so he's like on the ground. People are screaming all around it. I mean, there's general chaos. And you know how there's a crowd whenever there's a fight, there's a crowd that kind of generally forms. There's so much bad mojo floating around here that people are actually beginning to disperse and run. It's getting ugly. So,
well, no one said anything when he called upon Navariel.
Well, they think Navariel is the god of righteous pride, the new demigod elevated by Bestera. So
Uriel can't help it if they're stupid, just like everybody else.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that is the boat. Okay, Lachlan, it's your turn, my friend.
Well, I guess I'll start by standing up.
And taking 5 points of fire damage also.
Yep.
Sheesh.
And then I think he could use a blunder.
You think?
What's his will? Oh, never mind. What is this?
Is that a 20? Does blunder do damage?
It does do damage.
Oh, back it up. Let's see the backup. Come on.
Oh,
Oh, roll the die 6 here.
4.
Oh, it's still a critical hit.
So close. That was pretty good, though.
Critical hit.
Just bump it. Let's make it a 6.
That would be cheating, Jeffrey.
It's called a gimme.
So he's going to take 21 points of damage from me.
Ow.
Thank you very much. And then I will slide him back into square J17.
Okay.
And I'm going to give Anduriel a melee basic attack with a +3 to his attack.
Well, I think I shall take you up on that.
Okay. So he crawls on the floor away. Lachlan casts his spell, and he falls into Anduriel.
That is a 21.
That is a hit.
Yeah. So the magic, this charm, I'm gonna make him do like a backwards somersault right into that square and like come up right on top, right in front of Anduriel, who just got in.
Now
Yeah,
there's a
and
visual.
then it's a 6.
Yeah.
All right,
6
and you hit
points of damage. Because I don't add a damage bonus for that since it's a melee basic, right? Even though it's a weapon attack.
I would have to think about that. Your melee basic is your damage bonus is your strength, and then whatever your implement. Are you using the kukri?
Kukri, yeah.
And then what is your strength?
Strength, it's a +3.
Okay, so you should have a +4 to damage with a melee basic attack.
Okay.
Which I thought I'd put that on your sheet, but I may have neglected to do that. I'm old, I forget things.
I'll put it right here though. But so it's 10 points.
Okay. All right, that looks sad. He crawls away, says his prayer, and explodes with fire. And then he stands up and goes whoop whoop and does a backward somersault. And Anduriel shivs him as he slides back into you.
With my minor action, Moroccon's pretty hammered, correct?
Yeah, I'm down about. Yeah, I'm down 16.
So I'm going to use...
Gizik is in worse shape, I think.
Yeah, I can't get to Gizik.
Yeah, I'm not doing so great.
Oh, well, I can't get to Gizik. Screw him. Let's not.
Actually, I can with Majestic Word. Yeah, I'll use Majestic Word on Gizik. You get to spend a surge and get 5 extra hit points with that surge.
Oh, not
and
bad.
then I'm going to slide Gizik 2 squares into square I-14.
Okay.
So I just he just starts to sing a song, and it is a rejuvenating thing. This is he starts singing the song of the dancing hag, and watches Gizik just be like, yeah, and kind of
That's my jam.
across there.
With the song of the dancing hag is like, don't make fun of her. She's got moves. Okay.
DJ, play the dancing hag song.
Yeah. I think there may be a techno beat like ooch, ooch, ooch. Like,
no, it's a version of Can't Touch This. He's like, so Gizik goes and slides 2 squares over.
okay.
He moonwalks 2 squares over.
That's very nice. Okay, very nice turn. Lachlan, that was your turn. Morocon, it is your turn, my friend. Morocon, you ignore 5 points of fire damage.
Right. So is that a save I need to make?
Yeah, you need to make that save. At the end, you can go ahead and do it now if you want.
Real quick, Morocon, I misread the power. You get 3 temporary hit points when I channel divinity there. You don't get anything for you channeling divinity. So you get 3 temporary hit points.
Okay.
Cool. Well then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift 1 square to K16.
Okay.
And I am very sorry about this, Lachlan, but I'm going to channel divinity.
All right.
You dare call upon the archdevil of Navariel and smite us with fire? I'll show you fire. Hamina, show them your light. And he takes 8 points of of radiant damage.
Oh, he doesn't like that.
Undead gets +5 vulnerability. Does he happen to maybe?
No, he's an elf. He's not undead.
Okay.
He's just an elf.
Okay.
He just won't die. That's the.
So are you telling me I take 8 points of radiant damage too, Butthead?
That's
I
why
think
I
that was
said
the apology was for.
That's why I said I'm sorry.
Boy, that apology really
But
didn't work, did it? That was like,
if you shift over 1 square, you'll be out of the sun. So,
I'm gonna shift you.
but tell you what, for my minor action, I'm going to use Blades of Holy Fire. So
okay.
Everyone, including Gizik, because he's close enough now, gets a extra 1d6 fire and radiant damage against Mr. Castle Chest here.
Okay. Well, actually, they get that fire damage no matter who they attack, right?
Right.
Okay.
All right.
So all of your weapons, once again, when Morocon casts his spell or says his prayer, explode in holy fire, which will be very exciting to perceive. Okay.
And how long does that last?
The duration of the encounter. As long as you're within 5 squares of me, then yes, you'll get it.
Okay. And that is Morocon's turn. Okay, Anduriel, my friend, you are prone. It is your turn. You take 5 points of fire damage.
Okay.
Oh, I need to save against that too.
Yes, which doesn't affect you, but it is burning your clothes.
Right. What's the DC on it? I rolled a 14.
It's just a save, so you just have to roll over 10.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm good then.
Okay. All right. So you manage to pat out the flames that are cinching your threads, and then you explode in sunlight. And everybody in the crowd, they're like, "Whoa!" looking away as you explode into light around them. And people are generally confused by what's going on here. There's a bunch of priests fighting in the street, which they may have some passing familiarity due to the tension years past between the Church of Nalock and the Church of Vestera. But this is kind of odd to see a cleric of Hemina fighting clerics of Vestera. There's a lot of confusion, and you hear people screaming for the Just Blades.
Bring on the Just Blades. Okay.
Okay, and that is it. All right, Anduriel, it is your turn, my friend.
All
No
right,
clubs,
I'm going to,
no staffs.
I'm going to use Healing Word. Can I do that?
Okay.
I can do that, right?
You can do that.
And with that, our friend's going to take another 3 points of damage from my charisma modifier.
He is looking beat to poo again.
All right, so it's time to use Weapon of Divine Protection. And this time I'm going to use the Leviathan's Tooth.
Well, you're going to have to get up first, my friend.
I want to just do it from the ground.
There's nobody. You can attack from the ground. He did. And he rolled really high and hit all of you with Fires of Damnation.
No, I do need to. I could just stand up, right? I don't gotta.
Although if you'd use the Leviathan's Tooth, you'll push Lachlan out of my aura.
Sorry.
No, you'll push him out of the sun. I mean, it'll be a good thing.
He means he won't be burned.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry.
You don't have to do that. Okay. All right. So you're attacking with the Kukri?
No, with the Leviathan's Tooth.
Okay. His AC is 21.
That is a 17. Well, that's going to hit him.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I get my Kukri or my Leviathan's Tooth damage. 1d4. No, it's 1d6 for Kukri. And then 1d8. Sorry, guys. That's 8, 9, 12 plus 19 points of damage.
Okay.
Plus 1d6 of fire and radiant damage.
Ooh, that's right.
Because you're in my Blades of Holy Fire aura.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Even if you activate the Leviathan's Tooth, you'll still be within 5 squares of me.
And then, okay, I don't need to use Blade of Nightmares because he will be prone and restrained. So what happens. Anduriel's pissed. He's been lit on fire. That was a big chunk of change. And so his shadow's choking the guy, and he's like, enough. So he pulls out the Kukri or the Leviathan's Tooth, and he just kind of jumps over and spins it, bam, right in the guy's chest and right down to the ground. And you hear the reverberation, and the shockwave just pushes everybody out by three squares. Everybody pushes out by 3 squares except our friend. He's pinned on the ground. But you hear that sort of the reverberation, and then that yell from whatever creature the Leviathan's Tooth came from.
Probably an elephant.
That echo.
Okay. You also see the cobblestone of the street crushed into the ground as though something were stepping. And it's going to be ugly. Now, how far out does that push everybody, Anduriel?
3 squares.
All right. So, Morocon, you are shoved into square M14. Lachlan, M14. You are right next to Brother Fayette, who is on the floor. Lachlan, that shoves you back into 1, 2, 3. You are in square 20N, Lachlan. Anduriel, you are right where you are because, of course, the magic doesn't affect you.
Yep. 1,
2, 3. Sir Gerard, you is shoved back into square J13. And 1, 2. Gizik, you are shoved back into square 13H. Poor Gizik. He gets slid by Lachlan and shoved back by Anduriel. It's a rough trip, Gizik. Okay.
So, what is that line again that I got shoved over? Is that part of the
You
road
got-
still?
No, you are now off the cobblestone street, and you are onto the side. You're onto some grass, probably a little patch of grass.
So
Rather
is
close to a street torch.
Is Castle Chest dead now?
No, but Anduriel, you did 19, but you didn't roll the 1d6 extra damage.
I didn't.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. That's 1d4 for the dagger, 1d6 because it's weapon of divine protection,
Yeah, exactly.
and 1d6 for the holy blades of fire. So it should be 1d4 plus 2d6. Is that what you rolled?
I rolled 1d4, 1d6. No, yeah, 1d4 and 2d6. That's what I rolled.
Okay. All right. And it was a total of what?
19.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. He is not dead, but he's on fire and your shadow is choking him. So he's on the ground, slammed it. He doesn't look like he's getting up after all of that. That is Anduriel's turn.
I rolled a 17 for the save against the fire.
Okay. That is more than enough. You are able to pat out that fire. You are no longer on fire, which is good. Okay. That's Anduriel. Gizik, it is your turn, my friend. Gizik, you were not hit by the flames of damnation, and you're no longer prone, correct?
I don't think I was ever prone.
Yeah, I think
Gizik was never prone.
You were the only one who wasn't prone, I
That's right.
believe.
Right.
Okay. Well, it is your turn, Gizik.
All right. I will try to bewitch this cleric who's next to me. Was that Gerard?
Brother Gerard is next
Where's
to you.
Gerard
Yeah.
the other one? Okay.
No, Gerard is the one who's next to you. He's the younger of the two, and his will is 18.
All right. Well, that 13 will not bewitch him then.
Unfortunately.
So
Okay.
I will step forward to be actually next to him and take a few swings at him.
All right. Using Hag's Hunger, I assume?
Hag's Hunger, yeah. So this will be versus AC, 2 attacks. 16 and 21.
So the 16 will not hit. The 21 is exactly what you needed.
All right, so this is plus D6 fire damage, right?
That is correct.
Yep.
Well, dice rolls aren't amazing, so that's 5 damage with one of those being fire damage.
Okay. So small nick, but it counts.
And it burns just a little bit.
And it burns. All right, so you move right next to him, I'm assuming, into square I-13.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So Gizik, you just move over and give him a good clawing. Try to bewitch him. Unfortunately, he resists. You're falling under your power. And that was Gizik's turn. Now it is the cleric's turn.
Wait, is he still prone?
They're both still prone, my friend. Oh, no. Brother Gerard is the one who stood up.
All right, so I wouldn't have combat advantage, and it wouldn't make a difference on the roll. Okay.
Okay. Alrighty, so Brother Gerard is standing up. Brother Fayette still can't stand up because he is too busy moaning in ecstasy next to Morocon, which maybe makes Morocon feel a little uncomfortable. And he's just, you're like, you got a creeper. It's like being in the movie theater next to one of the.
It's like when your back itches and somebody starts to scratch it a little bit, and it feels good, but then they just don't stop, and then your back's just raw and burning, and you're screaming in pain.
Yeah, something like that. Except
pain and pleasure is pretty much the same thing. It's just a matter of intensity, right?
Well, I guess. I mean, maybe that can be our consider this for today. We're gonna move on now. Okay, so it's the cleric's turn. They are going to use their minor action to sustain their spiritual weapons. They will use their move actions to move the spiritual weapons back around you, Gizik. So there is a spiritual weapon to the top of you and a spiritual weapon below you. So they're both in square I, in square 12 and 14. Those two shields move in again to attack you. What is your AC?
It's 19.
19. They need 9s. A 3 and a 5. Miss. Congratulations.
Whew.
Oh, very nice. Okay. Oh, that's so irritating. And let's see. So, dang it, you are too close for. Well, I mean, dang it for him, not for you. You are too close to Brother Gerard. He's going to use a shield bash on you. What is your AC?
73.
73. Okay, that's a 29. So he hits you with his shield bash. You take 14 points of damage, and you are pushed back 1 square. All right, so Brother Gerard takes his shield back, and you're so distracted when they levitate their spiritual weapons over to you, and they come back to attacking. You're so distracted. You dodge one spiritual weapon, and you claw at another and knock it back. You physically shove it away, and then you just cannot defend yourself from Brother Gerard, who clubs you right in the face and does 14 points of damage and pushes you back into the grass again on square 13H. And the 2 horses on that wagon that are next to you, behind you, the wagon in the distance, they rear back at your proximity, and of course at the light show that's going on over here. And the driver of the carriage is trying to pull them back and trying to get a hold of them and calm them. For those of you who cannot see, that's what we're looking at. Gizik is right over there, and then the horse carriage right there. So if you get any nearer to those horses, you're worried that they might bolt.
Well, at least for now, I can be hopeful that they will not be running through the fire, so they'll probably run around it and not hit me.
That is true. All right, and that is Brother Gerard's turn. And let's see, what is Brother Fayette going to try to do? There's just not a lot that he can do when he can't get up. So, well, I think Brother Fayette is going to take the total defense action. He holds his shield up to Morocon, and he's trying to get his foot under him. So let's see if he saves. And he does finally manage to save. So that's all Brother Fayette is able to do on his turn, unfortunately, but it will bring up his defenses.
It's good enough.
Okay, and that would be Brother Fayette's turn. Back up to the top. Brother Eric's dies as Anduriel's shadow chokes him for 5 points of damage, and he is burned by Morocon's avenging flame for another 5. So Brother Brother Eric's is struggling against the Leviathan's tooth. He's like, trying to get up, and Anduriel's shadow takes him and slams him into the ground like 3 times. So he's like, trying to, again, force the Leviathan's tooth. And then the fire just kind of burns him, and he goes, boom, and he slumps down. And that is how Brother Eric's ends his life, or at least falls into the negative hit point zone. And that is his turn.
Can my shadow dust its hands off?
Absolutely. It's your shadow. All right,
Come over and
Anduriel,
give me a fist bump.
your shadow dusts his hands off, gives you a fist bump, and vanishes. However, he is still on fire, which is bad for him. Lachlan, it's your turn, my friend.
Okay, I want to...
You want to make a perception check.
I do? Okay.
Yes, you do.
He's like, nah, I think I'm going to attack.
I close my eyes.
You can't make me. You can't make me.
I perceive nothing.
With the leader dead,
Hey, at least Lachlan's doing the perception check.
Yeah.
18.
Okay, 18. All right, Lachlan, you become aware of the fact that Just Blades, whose tabard you recognize very, very well, they are coming running and will be here within a round. They're running from the north, from past that horse and carriage.
Okay. Are either of the two other priests bloodied?
Yes, they are. No, brother. No, they were, but they healed. So no, they're not bloodied.
Okay. Well, I want to. I want to be diplomatic instead of intimidating. So, so I'm gonna go up to square K15.
Okay.
And say, brethren, enough blood has been spilled. We need to stop this before your man over there burns to death. Can we call a truce, please?
Okay, make a diplomacy check, please. And I would like you to make a diplomacy check, unfortunately, at greater disadvantage. So roll twice.
So 15 and an 8 on the dice. So the 8 plus my bonus is a 20.
Okay.
Jeez.
I have a plus 12 to diplomacy.
Stout bonuses.
He's a bard. This is his business.
That's true.
So, okay. All right, Bardadin. So you will see on their turns how they react to it. That is your move and your minor. Anything you want to do for your standard?
Yeah.
You want to heal Gizik.
I can't get to him. Yeah. Let me run. Since I'm not attacking, I'll move the 2 extra squares, Matt, and get to square I-14.
Okay.
And use Spirit of Sacrifice. I'll spend my surge, but Gizik gets to heal his surge value and hit points. So
Alrighty.
I reach out with rose-colored light around my hands and just touch Gizik.
Okay. Do you scratch him, pleasantly scratch him,
No.
or do you?
There's no pleasantly scratching, painful.
Okay.
He just grazes his shoulder.
Okay.
No flensing.
Nothing like that, apparently. All right, very good. Moral Con, it is your turn, my friend.
Okay. I'm going to...
Brother Fayette is cowering before you, hiding behind his not so inconsiderable shield.
Yeah, he's also within the sun aura, so I'm going to shift over 1 square so that he's out of that aura.
Okay.
Into N14.
Okay, are you going to sustain the aura with your minor action?
I am, actually, because I need to make sure that this is... I want to make sure the combat is over first before I turn that off.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm gonna call out to them. Brethren of Bestera, our quarrel is not with you. Our quarrel is with the followers of Navariel. He is not your friend. He is an archdevil.
Okay. Please make a diplomacy check at greater disadvantage.
Okay.
You'll be rolling twice now, Benjamin. Good luck.
Do they actually hear and remember the name Navariel when he says that?
What's that?
Do they actually hear and remember the name Navariel, or is it kind of just like who? Like they can't.
That's a good question. You will find out on their turn.
All right.
Okay. Well, at disadvantage, at least my I have a +8 to diplomacy, so it's still M11. It's not as good as Lachlan's.
Okay, so maybe you accidentally spit fire when you said it. You're like, our quarrel's not with you.
The sun is still shining. Sorry.
Okay, our quarrel's not with you, but if you get any closer, I'm gonna fry you. Okay. Okay, that is Moralcon's minor action, his move, and his standard. That is his turn. Anduriel, it is your turn, my friend.
Okay, Anduriel is just going to start walking towards the Abbey.
Do you retrieve the Leviathan's tooth, or do you leave it in the? Okay.
Yeah, no, I picked that up. Is the Abbey that way or that way?
The Abbey is to the north. You don't know what the building looks like, so you've not even seen it yet.
Okay. Well, he's just gonna say,
And Duriel just starts walking.
Well, I'm gonna have to do an intimidate check, but he's gonna just say, we didn't come here to banty swords with these young whelps. Your leader has fallen. Get out of our way or you will fall too.
Who are you saying
to the two chumps? He's going to start walking towards the Abbey.
Okay. All right. That is Anduriel's turn. So Anduriel, what square do you want to end up in?
Let's see. 6. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10.
Okay. I'm assuming you are going to go around and not walk right past Brother Gerard.
Right.
That would be smart.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm going to skirt around, but I should still be able to make it there.
Okay. That is Anduriel's turn. And are you wanting to menace him as you go by? Do you want to make an intimidate check, or what's your plan?
Well, yeah, I'm trying to get them to stand down and to not fight. So it's like, let us go, or you're going to end up like Mr. Mo over here.
Okay. Is that what you say? Because you're going to have to say something. You're going to have to make a threat here somehow.
That's what he said. He said, let us pass, or you will end up like...
All right. Make an intimidate check, please. You do not need to roll at greater disadvantage.
That will be a 27.
Okay. As far as you can tell, Brother Gerard is intimidated. All right. So you walk by and you're like, what? You're gonna wind up. And he scrambles back a little ways from Lachlan and lifts his shield up a little bit. And that is what he does. Gizik, it's your turn, my friend.
Living for the day, huh?
Go toward the horses and just forego everything.
I'm not suicidal. Of course.
What are you down to, Gizik?
I'm down to 27 right now.
Okay. Woof.
I wish I had one more minor. I'd throw a healing word your way. Sorry.
You know what? I'll throw an Ardent Surge my way.
Okay.
So that will be... I'll add 14, which will bring me up to 41 out of 44.
Okay. All right, so that's your minor action, and what would you like to do?
They haven't left yet, have they?
No, it's their turn after yours. So you will see how they gauge all of these checks.
I'll try one more check. I'll say, living for the day, huh? If you want to live for any other day beyond this one, you should leave now.
Okay, make an intimidate check, please.
All right.
Oh, actually, make an intimidate check with a +2 bonus.
All right, so then that's 15.
Okay. He doesn't seem to look at you too much. He seems rather focused on Enduriel. Okay. So combat at this point basically ends because they both scramble backwards, kind of back to back, and raise up their shields in time for the Just Blades to run over. So they make threats, and brother Gerard, the younger of the two, says, you haven't won the battle. Vistera can still grant us victory. As our faith holds strong, you will fall before us. Witch, foul demon, shiny dragon thing. So they
Your
look at each
argument
other.
is growing less and less.
They back up, and Brother Fayette tugs on Brother Gerard's arm, and he says, Brother Eric's, siege of Brother Eric's, quickly. And just as that happens at the beginning of the next round, two of the Just Blades come running down and stand in two squares, 8 and 8I and 8J. Two older Just Blades, clearly in their 30s, looking seasoned, both of them, and they both slap down those those man catchers on a chain that you recall them having, and they both start twirling them and looking in front of you, and they draw their swords, and they cry, "Stand down, all of you, stand down, sheathe your weapons."
We already have stood down, children, or else those two would be dead.
Okay.
I can't sheath my weapons.
Okay.
I'm kind of in the same place.
Are you still glowing with radiant light, Moral Khan?
At this point, I think it's probably fizzled out.
Well, you can maintain it for a number of rounds equal to your modifier, right?
Right. I can maintain it for 3 rounds, but this is the 3rd round. Like, we're kind of done now.
All right. So the light fades on you, and the Just Blade looks up, and he looks around, and he goes, "What happens here?" And he's not speaking to you. He's speaking to the priest in front of them. And he says, "Brother Gerard, what goes on here?" And he says, Brother Gerard, 20-year-old Brother Gerard, looks at Gizik, and he looks at Anduriel, and looks at Morokhan, and he says, "These monsters attacked us in the very act of preaching the truth." And that's basically what happens right there.
I want to jump into his mind and say, just to him, say, "You better tell the truth, or we are going to dedicate ourselves to finding you and gutting you."
You say that to who?
To the guy who just lied.
Brother Gerard.
Oh, Brother Gerard?
Brother Gerard, yeah.
Okay.
You tell another lie, and it'll be the last words out of your mouth.
Okay, make an intimidate check, please.
Oh, well, it's a 19 on the die, plus 12 is 31.
You have
Okay.
a plus 12 to intimidate? Holy crap.
Okay.
Oh.
Lachlan, are you trained in intimidate, or is this your bardic feat?
No, I have 5 for charisma, 1 for being a bard, and then a 3 for my feat.
And then a plus 10 for the Infinity Gauntlet.
No.
Lachlan is inevitable.
So what I'm asking is, are you trained in this skill, or is this one of your untrained?
No, it's just I'm just freaking good.
So Lachlan has the Bard of all trades feat that he took, which gives him a +3 bonus to everything he's not trained in, which basically means Mommy's little angel is good at everything. He's just he's that guy. Anyway, the brother Gerard, when your voice sounds in his head, actually looks around and goes, "Ah!" like that. And the Just Blades look at him like, "Steady, brother, steady."
Sir, his conscience is troubling him because
and who are you?
He said, "I'm a paladin of Sindel, goddess of truth, and that man is speaking lies."
Okay, he looks at you and he says, "I know all of the knights of the Abbey of Ardor by name, and I don't recognize you."
We have just arrived in Horta when we were accosted by these men. We were headed to the Abbey ourselves, and they refused to let us pass on the street unless we went with them to worship their new god, not Vestera, whom we do recognize and revere, but this high one who instills pride and hate.
Okay. He looks at you and he says, the High One is Bestera's duly appointed exarch. You would do well to extend your reverence to her faithful, unlike whatever savagery it appears that you have committed here, paladin. And he looks at you and he says, you say you're a paladin of Sindel. Show me your holy symbol. Okay. He's like, show you, it's tattooed on my... Okay, he's like, okay. So
it's kind of obvious.
Well, it is kind of obvious. But he looks at you and he says, well, if 3 of the faithful asked you to come with them, I'm sure that you had a good reason for doing so. Why did you not simply heed their request?
They didn't make it as a request. They told us that we had to come with them or be attacked. You're saying that the Just Blades in this town are okay with priests accosting people for not obeying what they say because we're headed to the Abbey of Ardor?
Okay, make an insight check, please.
28.
Good at everything.
I'm just taking Lachlan wherever I go. He's the cheat code.
Okay. You need somebody to bargain with your insurance company? Bring Lachlan. That's not... Okay. Lachlan, as you mentioned that comment about the priests being able to do whatever they want, you see him flinch slightly. And you can tell that what you've said to him is both troubling and also indicative of something that's bothering him. Like, you can tell that what you've said bugs him on a pretty deep level. He says, be that as it may, I'm afraid I'm going to have to take you all into custody. He says, I don't see how we're going to sort this out without bringing you all back to our chapter house, placing you in holding cells, and taking the statements of witnesses. I'm afraid you're going to have to come with us.
No, why do we keep going to towns? This keeps happening every time.
Do you say that out loud?
Yeah.
We are not going to be arrested for defending ourselves from attack when we are on our way to the Abbey of Ardor. If the Abbey of Ardor, if the knights there see fit to mete out justice against us, so be it. But we will not be treated fairly in your group if anyone like this false priest here is present. You know, sir, I can tell you know that there is something wrong with the priests and their seemingly untouchable power that everybody has to do what they say. We represent the fellowship, the divine fellowship, and if you question that, you will have to speak to Lady Marie.
Okay. Make another diplomacy check, please.
27.
Okay. He looks a little bit nervous, and the other knight that is with him actually looks up at him and goes, Sir Justin, like, what are we gonna do? Like, and he says, are you telling me that you're refusing to come into custody? You are refusing to follow our laws? You who claim to be a visitor?
Are you telling me that your law allows you to arrest us without any cause?
Okay, he looks at you and he says, I am a knight. He says, I am a knight of the Order of Just Blades. I may arrest whomever I will. Should you seek to get some kind of redress, or should you seek to lay complaint against me, you can take that up with the Knight Lord or with the church, but you will submit to my authority.
No, we will not. If we have to continue to engage in combat once again because we are deterred from an important mission to the Abbey of Ardor, If you want to arrest us, question your witnesses. We will be at the Abbey of Ardor, and you are welcome to come there once you have completed your investigation. But I'm confident that you will find that we did not begin this altercation and are the victims in this case. But you, sir, are being prejudicial simply because of the outward appearance of my friends here, and because because you claim that we're not worshiping your deity.
Okay.
I thought
I'm not racist. Some of my best friends are Dragonborn.
We'll be at the Abbey of Ardor, and if you want to arrest us, you can arrest us there. Good day. And then I start walking past him.
Okay. In the meantime, Brother Gerard has run over to make a heal check on poor Brother Eric's, which he does successfully make, allowing him to spend a healing surge. So he is over there frantically like binding up his wounds and trying to like 1, 2, like trying to get Brother Eric's up off the ground. And Brother Fayette, as you start walking past, says, you can't just let them walk away. You have to arrest them. And he holds up his shield and he says, let us engage them in battle again. Bestera will grant us victory. And Sir Justin looks like he's just not quite sure what to do.
And Durio will kind of jump in and say,
he doesn't seem to be willing to move against you.
Let's say, Sir Knight, you are in a very precarious position. We recognize that. You can't let us go because maybe we do represent a danger to the people in this city. But on the other hand, you have no evidence that we do. Why don't you escort us to the Abbey and see us there safely? See the people along the way are safe from us, and we will stay there until you've gotten the answers to your questions.
Okay. He says, I do not think that the Abbey of Ardor needs to be involved. They were not the first authorities here on the scene. Proper protocol would dictate that you would come back to the chapter house of the Just Blades, where we would then place you in holding cells until we are able to collect the statement of witnesses and you can have an appearance before the Night Lord. That would be the proper way to handle things. Now, I can't make you come with me, but I can tell you, if you don't come with me now, that I will come back with more paladins of Bestera, and we will not be so gentle as we take you into custody. So before any of you can respond, from around the corner comes a gentleman on a white horse who says, now, Sir Justin, I don't believe that will be necessary. And he comes clippity-clopping over on the other side of that puddle. Look at you. Get a good look at him. He is a tall, copper-haired wood elf with kind of dusky colored skin. And he's absolutely beautiful. He has just these beautiful chiseled features. And he has a casually strung across his lap a silver-plated bow with red roses etched into the wood. And he is wearing a tabard, and that tabard is a white tabard with a golden arrow over it, and the tip of the arrow is shaped into a red heart. And so he comes clipping over, and he has a long green cape that kind of is so long that it moves, over his horse's rump, and he, clippity clops over. He's quite splendid, looking, just in his overall appearance. And he says, I don't think that'll be necessary, Sir Justin. These people were just on the way to the Abbey of Ardor, and I'm happy to take them into my custody. And Sir Justin looks up and he says, Captain Emilio, I don't know that would be proper protocol. And Captain Emilio just smiles at him and he says, but protocol, I'm a captain. Surely you're not saying that you don't trust Sindel's knights to take these fellow priest into custody and his fellows. And Sir Justin hems and haws a little bit, and he's like, forms, and we're closer to my house, like kind of back and forth. But Captain Emilio says, Now, Sir Justin, I don't want you to be troubled any further by this altercation. I promise that should you wish to speak with any of them, you will find them all safely at the Abbey of Ardor, where they may be interviewed at length. I'm sure you have time that you will need to be able to gather witnesses to determine what has happened. From some of the rumblings I've heard in the streets, it sounds like this may not be such a clear-cut case after all. Now, surely you'll want that time to be able to interview those witnesses yourself. And Sir Justin's like, well, I suppose that is going to take quite a bit of time if you are going to keep them in custody, Captain Emilio, but they'll have to go into holding cells in the Abbey. And Captain Emilio looks down and he nods and puts his hand over his heart and says, "Of course, I wouldn't have it any other way." And from that statement, you can make an insight check, but I'll tell you right now, you get the feeling it's BS. So he looks at you and he says, "Sir Paladin, if you would not mind coming with me, we'll head back to the Abbey with all haste." And
thank you.
he tips his green hat that he's wearing towards Sir Justin. He says, "Sir Justin, thank you for being so dutiful in carrying out your responsibilities. I will take them to custody now." And he just turns his horse right around and goes clippity clopping the other way. And people actually start gathering around Sir Justin and tell him like, "I seen it. I seen the whole thing. Them clerics was beating each other in the head with shield. It were ugly." And then Sir Justin kind of just looks back like, "Someone rescue." And do you follow Captain
I will
Emilio?
follow, but on the way out, I want to say telepathically to Sir Fayette and Sir Gerard.
Well, Sir Fayette or Sir Gerard is out of your range now. He's way back there with Brother Eric's.
Okay, so Sir Fayette, say, because I already threatened Gerard, so I say
Yes.
to Sir Fayette, say, "Remember this, Fayette. If you do not speak the truth, there's no cell that will hold us from our wrath. Protect you from our wrath.
Okay.
Tell the truth, or you'll be dead."
Okay. He looks really disturbed. And you begin to get the impression that perhaps Brother Eric's aura of pride has waned to some degree, because he seems like he's coming out of it like he's just really confused. Like, what did we just do? Like, it couldn't have been that we started the fight, because we don't do that. But he looks at you and you can tell he's just kind of trying to figure this all out. But he just kind of thinks back at you, "Get out of my head, get out of my head." And that's really all he can say before before he's reporting to Sir Justin. So you follow Captain Emilio?
Sure.
Absolutely.
All right.
Sure.
So Captain Emilio looks back at you. He just moves into a slight canter. He doesn't really seem like he's in any kind of terrible hurry. He's just, for all the world, it looks like he's on a pleasure ride, just clippity clop, looking along, waves to people as he goes by, just looks very relaxed. And he looks back at you all and he goes, "Well, that was a bit of excitement, wasn't it?"
Indeed.
Your timing was impeccable, sir.
Okay. He says, "You can thank the Mother Abbess for that."
And
Which is
Duriel's
just
going to
a
actually
little earlier next time.
speak to Lachlan through the mind link. I can do that, right?
Yep.
And
You
say-
can all do that now. Speak to each other. I took the feet.
Look, he's gonna say, "Look, Bard, I know this person came and got us out of that situation, but I don't trust him.
Of course not.
Hear me out. I know this is an Andorial thing, but hear me out. He's very comfortable in a city full of corrupt priests. In a city full of corruption, he seems to be very comfortable. We just need to be on our guard."
I agree, but I also think that that the corruption that we've met so far has been Navariel's attempt to undermine the Church of Vestera. I would not be surprised if he had tried to do the same in the other faiths, but I think it would be more difficult to get a foothold in some of the other churches because their numbers are so few. What's the point of getting a stranglehold on Sindel's faith in the Republic if you're going after Bestera?
I don't disagree, but just don't go inviting him into the fellowship because he's got these fancy clothes and he rides a nice horse and you get into a room full of pretty things. All right, sorry.
All right.
That's
Anything else? Does anybody respond to him?
For the night?
Yeah. Well, he did just look back over the horse and say, well, that was a bit of excitement.
And Duria would say, why did the Mother Abbess send for us? Who told her we were here?
He says, I don't question the Mother Abbess. It's generally wise not to do so. I have absolutely no idea how she knew you were going to be here. I have no idea, but I have learned to follow her and to heed her commands, and generally, things like this tend to go better.
Do you know who we are?
I have no idea who you are. And Uriel, is your holy symbol out, like, for everyone to see?
No.
I didn't think so. He looks at Lachlan. He says, I only know you as a member of my faith. He says, I only know him as a member of the faith. He says, I have no idea who the rest of you and your colorful friends are.
Good.
My holy symbol is branded to my chest, so.
Well, yeah, he probably knows who you are, but he doesn't know who you are. He says, he just looks at you all and he smiles. That's all he does. Just smiles companionably.
We're members of the Hallowed Council, the Divine Fellowship. Each of us is a representative of one of the faiths of Ienia.
He
what
nods.
What time of day is this?
It's probably around 11 o'clock now.
Wait, you got a hot date?
In the morning?
Yeah, it's around 11 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Are we keeping you from something, Moro-Khan?
I gotta go.
Okay. So he looks back and you say members of the Divine Fellowship were members of the Hallowed Council. He says, oh, you're the Hallowed Council. Oh my, you're not what I expected. How colorful. He says, I imagine you gave the poor Besterans quite a shock. He goes, and he laughs.
That one priest was not a Besteran by any means.
He nods at you and he doesn't say anything. He kind of goes like,
what's your opinion of the High One?
Well, I am a follower of Sindel. I don't generally critique the followers of the other gods. No matter how misguided they might seem. He says, no, I get along well with all of Bestera's folk. Looking at him.
So who exactly is duly appointing the High One?
He says, well, as far as I know, that announcement of the High One being raised to divinity came from the High Protector himself, through his second, of course, who relays all his announcements.
It's a bunch of crap.
Did you say that out loud?
Yes. The High One.
We always say things out loud.
The High One's another name for a fallen angel. We've just come from Winter Run where we had to where the Night Lord.
I know. He looks. He's like, brother. Surely such talk is from behind closed walls, or closed doors, or walls.
And then I say mentally to everybody, to him included.
Okay.
Are the walls of your mind safe for discussing these issues?
Okay. And he says to you in a kind of a bemused fashion, "Oh my." George talking. He's like, he says, aren't you the tricky one? He says, your Hallowed Council seems terribly interesting, but let's save that conversation for behind the wards and enchantments that protect the Abbey. You never know who's listening out here, even mentally. You can't be too careful.
And then I say to excluding him just to the rest of the party, his response is a good sign, I think.
Let us hope
Right.
so.
Like you were testing him. You're giving him the whole thing, Lockman. Come on.
Okay. All he had to do was offer you free makeup samples, and you licked his hand like a big dumb dog. Like,
He certainly seems better than the best errands.
so Captain Emilio continues to smile as you go moving down the cobblestone streets, and a lot of people greet him. Several people greet him by name, and you see more than one glance up at him like, like just looking at him. And then you guys walk by, and they look at you, Lachlan, and they're like, "Oh," like, and then they look at Anduriel, and they're like, "Oh." Like, and so you guys are drawing for a variety of reasons. You're drawing a number of different looks, and then people are looking at Morocon and Gizik. Some lady is carrying her wash, and Gizik gets within 5 feet of her, and she's like, "Oh," like, and almost drops her laundry basket. And it's quite. You're drawing quite a bit of attention, shall we say?
I'll look at one particular woman that is obviously guffawing at Andoriel and just be like, I assure you I'm quite hot too. And I snore a puff of smoke toward her.
Okay. All right. She looks just generally kind of wide-eyed at you, and then just kind of moves along her way rather quickly.
I chuckle and keep walking.
Okay, as long as you don't start singing again, I'm sure it'll be. In any case, you are led to a beautiful rock wall enclosure of smooth stones of various hues in a chaotically attractive formation. You ride along the wall until you reach a silvery plated metallic gate, the tops of which have been worked into the shape of angelic figures with bows pulled taut. As you approach, the gates swing wide open, and you enter a lush green garden that defies the autumn season. Everything is in bloom. The grass is green. It looks as though autumn has not touched this garden. 2 lines of apple trees frame a white gravel walkway leading to the main abbey. The abbey itself is a small estate of white stone with a golden top. Dominating the face of the abbey are 2 beautiful stained glass windows showing red roses surrounded by a circle of golden arrows. As you approach the thick wooden doors, you see a statue of gray stone, and you see a statue of Sindel holding a bowl in front, just kind of standing sideways in the doorway that you would have to walk past. And standing in the doorway, you see a remarkable looking figure. The first thing that you notice when you take a look at this woman is the costliness of her apparel. She is wearing a purple toga with a lot of makeup, and she wears a steel diadem with amethysts at regular intervals. She also wears a long red cape that trails behind her like a wedding train, with twin golden clasps over the purple robe that she's wearing. She has honey gold hair that kind of just falls loosely around her, and these big, large brown doe eyes. She has this kind of Sophia Loren attractiveness that just ages like wine. You know, the older she gets, somehow she just looks more refined. And she is standing with her hands clasped in front of her in the doorway of the abbey next to the statue of Sindel. And the last thing that you notice about her is that she's actually kind of short. And it occurs to you as you look at her that she may be a dwarf because of her stature. But she's so lovely that that's all you see. And the idea that she might be a dwarf is only secondary. And as you approach Captain Emilio about halfway up the white gravel walkway, he dismounts from his horse, and he lets the horse kind of just wander into the garden where it grazes. And then Captain Emilio walks the rest of the way up to the steps leading up to the entryway and the stone statue of Sindel. And he bows gracefully and falls down to one knee, and he says, "Radiant Mother Abbess, I have brought visitors as you requested." And she smiles down at him. And when she smiles, you cannot help but be happy that she's happy. You can't help it. All of a sudden, inside of you, you feel this light and this warmth fill you up as you approach her. And the idea that she's happy makes you happy. You're like, oh, she's having a good day. I'm so glad she's having a good day. What does that look like on your individual characters as you are filled with this feeling of warmth and happiness and affection?
And Duriel narrows his eyes a little bit.
Are you going to try to suppress it?
Yeah, it's unfamiliar. He doesn't know what to do with it.
Okay. And Duriel, if you are going to try to suppress the affection that you are feeling for her, I would like you to make a bluff check, please, at greater disadvantage.
It'll be quite 14.
You got to roll twice if you have greater disadvantage.
7.
Okay.
I cannot do it, apparently.
All right. So as you try, what does it look like when Anduriel messes up trying to not feel this or look
Well,
like?
he kind of screws up his face a little bit. He's like, and he tries to narrows his eyes like, I don't trust her. And he's, and so he kind of goes, huh.
Okay.
Maybe not so bad. So then he starts to get doughy-eyed just like the rest of them.
Okay. What about the rest of you? What is your reaction as this feeling fills you? Gizik, I imagine, goes, "What's that?"
It is kind of unfamiliar, yeah.
I take a knee as well and kind of bow to her.
Okay.
And I cover up my mole.
Okay. All right, you cover up your mole, and the slightest giggle escapes from her, and it's just a little tittering noise. It's just like, nothing more than that. It's not loud. It's not boisterous. And anyone else? What's your reaction, Moral Khan?
Moral Khan doesn't. He hears her giggle and he starts giggling too, like.
Okay. And what's Gizik's reaction? How does he manifest it?
I'm just going to kind of, he falls backwards and he's sitting on his butt and just sitting there kind of in a daze. Doesn't really know how to react or what to feel. It's
like crisscross applesauce.
Really,
like, oh.
It's really uncomfortable.
Okay. I love that. Gizik goes kindergarten style on the ground. Okay. She steps down quite easily, despite this long red cape that she's trailing like a wedding train. She steps down to you, Lachlan, and she takes you by the hand and with a surprising amount of strength easily lifts you onto your feet. Okay. And she reaches out and draws you into her embrace. And she says, "Be welcome at the Abbey of Ardor and bask in Sindel's love and the light of her truth." And then she lays one on you. And it is not brief, and neither is it devoid of passion. And then she says, "Be welcome." And then Anduriel, she walks over to you and she smiles at you. And she extends her hand to you, and just to either shake or whatever.
He's an old creature, so he gallantly takes her hand, and he brushes his lips and says, "It is an honor to be in your presence, my lady."
Okay. She smiles brightly at you, and as she smiles, there's like this surge of adrenaline, like you're a junior high 13-year-old kid, and the girl just said yes when you asked her to dance. And then that just kind of fills you. And something else happens as she steps near you, Anduriel. She steps near you, and when you are kind of close enough in her aura, you feel the bloodlust within you dampened by proximity to her. The whole threat of the red cap rising within you just feels very manageable in her presence.
So as he feels that, that's such a relief for him not to be holding that at bay. He actually takes a knee while he's got her hand.
Okay.
Recognizing that.
Okay. She just bows her head towards you and she kisses you on the cheek, and being touched by her is a little bit like lightning coursing through you. And then she walks past you to Gizik, and she sits down on both of her knees. She comes down with her knees with her feet behind her and sits down very casually on the gravel as though she were comfortable there all the time, and looks at you, Gizik, and she says, "Be welcome at the Abbey of Ardor. Please rest and know that you will be treated with justice here." And she says, "Please rise." And then she stands up, very gracefully too, stands up, puts one foot under her like Memoirs of a Geisha, and rises gracefully, and she lifts you up with her. And then she comes over to Moroccan, and she extends her hand to you as well.
Oh, he'll clasp it with both of his hands and she's short and he's huge, so he's going to have to kneel to just put her hand to his forehead.
Okay.
Thank you
Moroccan,
for your grace.
She jumps up into your arms and wraps her arms around your neck.
Oh, he's just going to giggle.
Okay. And she gives you, which for a dwarf is an impressive feat that she's able to do that. But she springs up lightly like a dancer and wraps her arm around you, and she hugs you tightly for a moment and tells you, "Be welcome," and sits down. And then she walks back up towards the statue of Sindel, and she turns around and she says, "The Abbey of Ardor is a place of love where the just and true are protected. To enter, Sindel asks for a sacrifice of truth. She will ask you a question, which is the same to all, and then I will ask you a question under her inspiration. Both are acceptable offerings of truth. Who will approach her first?" Okay. Oh my God. It's my favorite elective. Okay. So, Lachlan, you walk forward, and she gestures for you to kind of face Sindel's statue. And you see Sindel's holding a bowl of holy water. You can easily tell. And she says to you, "Whom do you love the most?"
Sindel.
Okay. She nods. And this time when she speaks, it sounds like it's coming through her rather than her asking the question. And she says, with somewhat of authority that is a little bit intimidating, "You prize your own beauty greatly, which is right. Why do you think that it has been taken from you?"
Because I don't know how to help my ally find his own beauty, I guess. I failed.
Okay. She kind of snaps out of it and looks at you, and she looks at you with a degree of sympathy. And she cups your face with her hand and she says, "Well, don't worry about that. We can guide you past it." And she says, "Please enter." And then she just gestures at these beautifully ornate carved wooden doors with roses etched into them. And she says, "Who will come next to approach Sindel?"
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go for it.
Okay. All right. Moroccan, you come up there, and she says to you, "Whom do you love most?"
My homeland and my family.
And she nods at you. And then that voice of authority takes over again, and she speaks and she says, "Why do you fear so much living up to the expectations of your parents?"
I love my homeland and my family very much. It would be a great dishonor to both me and my family if I were to be cast out of New Tarsa.
Okay. She kind of snaps out of it again and she nods. And She pats you on the arm companionably and holds onto your arm for a moment, and she says, perhaps you please Hamina greatly, and more than you know. That's something that you can think about. Please be welcome. Enter. And she points towards the wooden doors. And then she looks down at Enduriel and she says, please come. Don't be afraid.
All right. And he steps forward.
Okay. She looks at you and looks you in the eyes. And once again, Enduriel, as you come close to her, it's like having a burden lifted to some extent. And she also fills you with such a feeling of love and affection that it's difficult not to be at peace or in conflict, depending on how comfortable you are with those emotions. And she asks you, whom do you love most?
Well, Mel, that's a difficult question. I naturally want to say myself, but really, the thing I love most is a memory. I love the memory of the man who raised me.
She nods. And then that authority kind of takes over to her, and she says, why do you demean your comrades? Why does it frighten you so to allow them to know that you care for them?
Oh, don't say because they're idiots. Don't say because.
Do the crickets.
I suppose it all goes back to the memory of the person I love most. If I loved him so much, and such a fate befell him, what happens if I get close to these people?
And she nods. She snaps out of it again, and she kind of looks at you, and her eyes are filled with pity, which doesn't diminish the love that you feel like coming off of her. But her eyes are just filled with that pity, and she looks at you and she says, love is always a risk, and sometimes it takes us a longer route to get to a point where we're comfortable with it. But regardless, be welcome. Please enter. And then Gizik, she gestures to you and extends her hand.
Yeah.
Oh, this will be good.
Gizik walks forward.
Okay, she actually takes your hand to Gizik when she's speaking to you, and she holds on to it. Just in a very companionable way that may be a new experience for him. But she holds on. She doesn't seem the least bit deterred by the fact that you have claws, although she does maneuver her finger under the claw, so it's not quite so clawy. And she says, whom do you love most?
Love? I don't know. There's not been a lot of... I did have a pet boar once, but he didn't last long after he got into the garden.
Oh, trauma from Gizik's childhood.
This is the best, guys.
It's like we're watching an origin
I'll let
story
you
here.
try and guess what happened to said boar. But
okay, that voice of authority kind of takes over again, and she says, do you really feel that power will fill the void in your heart?
I don't know about filling voids, but it will at least allow me to protect myself from being hurt again.
Okay. She snaps out of it, and she nods, and she looks up at you, and she says, love is always a risk, and hurt is always the consequence, but the rewards are so much richer than any treasures that you might covet or pick up. But in its own time, please be welcome. Enter. And she points towards those doors, and she actually leads you through by the hand, Gizik. And you can't help. You're like, at first, it's probably a little bit weird to have her holding onto your hand, but the longer that passes, the more comfortable you get with the fact that she's touching you and that she's just holding on to you companionably. Now, as you all enter in, it's a very interesting looking salon, you might say. The interior through these double doors of the Abbey looks more like a theater than it does kind of a foyer. And it's this big open enclosure, and there are couches and cushions all around. And there's actually a stage behind all of the furniture as you walk in. There's also a fountain that has light kind of shining on it that makes the water look like it's got roses, like the water shimmers over some carvings that make it look like there are roses floating in the water. And she gestures to some of the cushions and she says, "Please be seated. I'll have refreshments brought. Make yourselves comfortable. And tell me what brings you to the Abbey of Ardor." And she sits down on a couch with a large cushion, and she tucks both of her bare feet up underneath her and kind of smooths out her toga and just looks very comfortable in that furniture. And Captain Emilio comes in also, and he finds he takes his weapons off and he kind of just places them on a table, and he relaxes back and puts his hands behind his head and just sits back on a couch.
We've come for several reasons. Personally, I've come because I want to join Art Seekers.
Oh.
And as a party, we've come because the Republic is under attack, and we need to do something about it. We have concerns about the Order of Saint Bethania having opposing the Divine Fellowship, and also the spread of the worship of this supposed High One, who we know to be Navariel, a fallen angel.
She says, "The High One, you say, is a fallen angel? And what was his name again?"
Navariel.
Yes, and what was his name?
You won't be able to retain his name. I don't know how it's blocked, but Saint Delia appeared to us in Winterrun, and somehow her influence has allowed us to retain the memory of his name.
And she says, "You've seen Saint Delia Adira?"
Yes, she's the one who did this to me.
Ah. She says, "I see. Well, you and I will need to speak later, perhaps alone, where we can be more comfortable." And she looks at the rest of you and she says, "Dark deeds, I see. You are the members of the Divine Fellowship. This I knew when I sent out Emilio to retrieve you. I had a sense that you were in danger of a kind." And Captain Emilio speaks up and he says, "Radiant Mother, the Shield Brothers of Bestera and a cleric of the High One were attempting to arrest them when I came upon them. There had already been battle." And she looks up at you and she says, "Oh dear, there was bloodshed. Was anyone felled? Was anyone seriously hurt?"
Not filled enough.
The priest of the High One, but they saved his life.
And you say you engaged them in battle. Tell me what happened.
They stopped us on the road and began to speak to us of the High One, and we told them we were headed here, and they insisted that we go with them to learn more about the High One, and when we refused, they attacked.
She looks up, and the first glance of irritation crosses her face at your story. And it kind of, as you sit there and look at her, it bothers you that something has irritated her. You feel like whatever it wasn't merited. It's a bunch of crap, man. She leans over next to the couch, and she grabs a bottle of wine that's over there and uncorks it and pours a drink. And she reaches over and starts pouring drinks for the rest of you. And she stands up and walks over and hands the drinks to the rest of you. She hands you, it's just a nice red wine, pretty pricey, you would imagine. And she hands you the drink, Lachlan, first, and she says, "Might I assume that you weren't sufficiently living for the day?" And she hands you the cup.
We were met with similar mistreatment in Winter Run. The followers of the High One were using an organization called the Faith of Man to insinuate themselves in the city. They had actually allowed a devil to possess the Night Lord's wife.
Okay. You say that, and she looks at Emilio, and Emilio looks back at her, and just kind of a secret look is shared between them. And she nods, and she said, "Very confusing information coming out of Winter Run." And then she moves over Moralcon and hands you a drink and brings a glass of wine over to you, Gizik, as well. And she says, "And what is more disturbing, perhaps, is the issue of the information not coming out of Winter Run." And then Anduriel, she walks over to you, and she hands you the cup of wine, and she says, "Do you require something more substantial?"
Not at the moment. No, actually. Thank you.
All right. She nods at you, and she says, "If you do, you have someone let me know personally." And she looks around and she says, "Dark deeds. Well," and she flounces back down on the couch and puts her arms down there on both sides of it. And she takes a sip of the wine and she says, "Well, I can see why the gods have sent you. I was rather intrigued when I heard that the Divine Fellowship had been restored. I am quite interested to see all of you. Who are your patrons?"
Mine is obvious.
All right, she nods and she looks at Anduriel.
I think mine's obvious too.
I am a cleric of Naylock.
"Oh, my goodness." She says, "Aren't you a brave one, wandering the Republic?"
Brave or not, I don't think of it anything like that, actually.
She looks at you and she says, "Well, you know the Besterans have been a mite testy since your church attempted to annihilate theirs."
Go far enough in history and someone's church is always trying to annihilate someone else's church. There's always something going on. I do my work for Naylock and for myself, and it is enough.
All right. She nods and smiles and she says, "Then again, that's the point of your organization, is it not? To put those quarrels behind us."
Just so.
Yes, no need. We don't need to be fighting each other.
"I couldn't agree with you more." And she says, "And whom do you serve?"
Oh, you didn't forget me, huh?
"Certainly not."
I do the bidding of Sigrund.
And she looks up at the sky and she goes, tips back and takes another drink. And she says, "Oh, poor Lady Marie." And she says, "Well, it is to your credit that you are here. You're all rather brave to be venturing into the Adari Republic, the seat of Bestera's power. There's always been a bit of tension, you might say, between the Church of Bestera and the other faiths in the Republic.
We've noticed.
There are quite a number of strictures. For instance, any other worship house can only take up so much square footage. Our properties are only allowed to be so large. For instance, we may only maintain shrines. We may not build a full temple. This is a land that is dedicated to Bestera, and we are here at her grace. But that tension has grown worse of late. And she stands up and puts her cup down and wanders into the middle and sits down next to the fountain and just kind of lifts her hand into the water and touches the water as it kind of ripples and looks up, and she says, I will be honest with you and straightforward. A darkness lies at the heart of this city. And she looks at you, Anduriel, says, and I don't mean the kind cast by your lord and patron. There is a subtle sickness that is infesting Horta, but it's elusive. It's like a dream, and every lead as to the cause just seems to dissolve into nothing before it can be followed to its conclusion. And she says, I see why you are here. I must confess I am not quite sure how to proceed. Well, we'll have to make intercession. And she says, Emilio, I would like you to ride to the halls of protection, please. And Emilio cocks an eyebrow. And she says, yes, I think that would be best. She said, rise to the halls of protection, take Sir Darktear, Sir Eventide, and Sir Dantes, and make it known that if there is any concern over the incident in the streets, that those concerns ought to be brought to me directly, you understand. And Captain Emilio stands up, nods, and he says, Radiant Mother, you realize there may be some objections. And she says, oh, I imagine there will be several objections, but that's all right. Just make it known, loudly, if you would, that I will be handling any such objections. And Emilio nods, and he doffs his green cap, and he says, Radiant Mother, and he walks up a very large staircase down a hall and heads down that way. And she says, now, this is quite troubling. And so you have come to join our order, but what else brings you to Horta? Surely the entire Divine Fellowship is not here.
No. Others of our order have gone to River End, East River, where there's some kind of nightmares coming to life. We got word that was going on and had to go into two separate groups.
Okay, she nods, and she says, I see, and why is your group here in Horta?
Isn't the Order of St. Bethania located, or aren't their headquarters here?
Well, their headquarters isn't here, but they are here at court right now in the capital, trying to get the Night Lord to kick the Divine Fellowship out of the Republic.
Yeah. We thought it prudent to be a presence here as the Order of St. Bethania is trying to oust us from the Republic.
That is a sticky situation. And she says, forgive me, but I feel like you know something more.
Milady, I'll explain to her the dream that I had. And I'll ask,
okay.
have you heard the serpents?
Okay. She says, I've heard nothing of the kind, although I am not surprised to hear that those forces are at work. How much of the dream do you tell her?
Pretty much all, probably minus the minus the wolf shadows of the serpents that would enter the hearts of the population of the city.
Okay. She says, do you often have prophetic dreams?
I don't know about often, but Hamina does grace me with visions on occasion.
And who do you believe the serpent to be, or what do you believe it to be?
Well, I heard hissing coming from that servant of Navariel.
Of whom?
Forget the high one. The castle chest people.
She says, you say you heard hissing as he spoke?
It grated on my ears.
Oh dear. Now there's one piece of information that you haven't provided to her yet. And that is something that the demigoddess of rebellion told you. Do you guys remember what it is? She told you that a knight of hell had been released into Horta.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Anybody going to tell her that? You're just going to hold that one back?
I'll tell her that too.
And by the way,
she seems to be on the level.
By all means,
just lay every card on the table.
Tell her everything. I guess Sandario will pipe in with that. We have it on good authority that a knight of hell has been released in Horta.
Okay. She looks at you and her eyes go wide for a minute. And then she closes her eyes and clutches her holy symbol, which is a golden amulet with a crystal rose set into the center. She clutches her holy symbol and she nods. And she says, I knew it. She said, I knew that there was something to which this all could be traced. And she says, and that is why Sindel sent me to bring you here. A knight of hell. Do you have any idea where this knight of hell is? Has it been summoned here? Do you know anything more?
No, but
I think so.
But it would stand to reason if Winterrun is any indication. I imagine this Knight of Hell would try to put itself in a place of authority. That's what happened in Winterrun, possessing the Night Lord's wife and then subjecting the entire castle to torture and control, turning the just blades into puppets, using chain devils to cause unrest among the dead in Winterrun, involving the Piper and having an ally with his creeps, the Red Caps. It was not just this high one; it was also the Piper. And en route here, we were attacked. No, it wasn't en route. It was just before we left. We were attacked by some sort of nightmare creature.
Okay. She frowns and she says, I fear for how deeply these problems and hellish torments have entrenched themselves in the city. But we have time to act. And because of your information, Sindel's arrow may be pointed closer toward its target. Well, you will stay and be our guests, I would hope, yes?
Sir, if you would have us.
Pleasure.
She says, it would be difficult for me to protect you outside of the Abbey. My influence and power has its limits. But there are many goings on here that you should be aware of. Things that now that you tell me this have begun to fall into place. And I begin to understand perhaps a little bit more of the tapestry that weaves itself around us. But we have time to act. And for that, I thank you. Be welcome at the Abbey of Ardor, and know that Sindel will aid your cause. And that is where we will end for tonight. So we are quite a bit over, but we lost a little time on the text. So thank you for your time, gentlemen. And consider this is going to be by Ryan. So abrupt end.
Yes. So we're talking about books that we like, right? And I have too many favorites to pick a single favorite, but one of my favorites is To Kill a Mockingbird. And I think it's because Atticus Finch, one of the primary characters in the book, is pretty darn awesome. But there's a part in the book where his daughter asks him why he's taken on this case of the man who's been accused of rape, and she asks him, "Are you going to win?" And he says no, and she's like, "Well, why are you doing it?" And he says, "Simply because we're licked 100 years before we started is no reason for us not to try to win." And I have liked that quote ever since I first read it, because I think that sometimes we have to choose a hill to die on, but it still is worth it. I think sometimes people are too quick to compromise their principles because they don't think that they can change anything, or that well, it's so overwhelming anyway that why try. But I think sometimes the cause, even when it's futile, there's always that glimmer that some good will come out of it anyway. Even if you lose, there may be a positive outcome. I mean, I look at and think of different martyrs in history and how they may have felt like failures or lost their lives for their causes, and yet inevitably their message was successfully delivered. And so that's just my thought, is that just because you're licked before you start doesn't mean you don't do the right thing because it's the right thing. Thanks, Harper Lee.
Awesome. She actually wrote a sequel to that. I don't know if you've read it, but the sequel to that is interesting. It's a lot about Atticus confronting his own prejudices, and the fact, even though he's made this great stride, this great sacrifice, this great act, it's about him confronting the inner man. So her second book is interesting. I don't know if it perfectly dovetails given the character of the man in the first book, but it's Harper Lee's a great writer, so I think that's great. Great recommendation. If you haven't read To Kill a Mockingbird, read it. It's not written in a style that is appealing like the current novels of today, but if you can get past it, there's some good reading there.
Great book.
Yep. Any other thoughts? Okay, we will end for the night. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.